If you change your mind, I'm the first in line. Honey, I'm still free. Take a chance on me.
Hello everyone, it's Joe Grotesque for Retro Cynical. You know, in a previous episode, I promised to make this episode a top 5, and I'm going to deliver with that, but I wanted to do something that's a little bit different from top 5s of the past. So I decided to pick 5 overlooked NES games. Now these games aren't necessarily obscure or unknown even, and maybe even a couple of them are semi-popular, but I don't feel like they get their due credit. Now I know there's going to be some of you that are like, "No, Joe, that game just sucks, what's wrong with you?" And that's fine. This is only my opinion, and you're more than welcome to leave your 5 overlooked games in the comments below. So without further ado, let's get right into it. Quite possibly the most popular game on this list is Heavy Barrel. Now I realize a lot of folks are more than aware of this game, but I rarely see it in anyone's list of personal favorites. And I don't hear its name pop up in conversation too often, which is kinda sad because I would go as far as to call it one of the greatest games in the NES library. With a fairly decent challenge, solid graphics for its time, and rockin' music, there's no denying this game's glory. I don't say this about too many games, but Heavy Barrel is a must-own and certainly one of Data East's finest moments. Check it out. Trojan. Trojan is one of those Capcom games that gets overlooked constantly. Sure, die-hard NES collectors know all about it, but as a kid I didn't know anyone else that owned it. With subtle elements of ghosts and goblins and visuals akin to other Capcom titles in the mid-80s, Trojan still holds its own as a unique title. Solid side-scrolling action-adventure with a dark flair. Definitely worth checking out if you haven't already. Toki is a game that seems to be more synonymous with its arcade and Sega Genesis releases, but Taito's NES port of the game seems to be my favorite. Certainly an overlooked version. If you're a fan of games like Adventure Island and Bonk's Adventure, you're gonna love Toki because it brings the vibe of those games, but has more depth and perhaps even better level design. It kinda bothers me that this game doesn't get way more recognition, so here's me doing my part. Yonoid, another Capcom publication. This is another one on the list that was semi-popular at its time of release due to the fact that it was a tie-in to a Domino's Pizza ad campaign, though I feel that it gets overlooked as a quality game for that very same reason. Yonoid is a solid side-scroller that's both fun and at least semi-challenging. I spent a lot of time playing this as a kid and find myself having fun with it as an adult. Not an obscure title by any means, but one that deserves a higher place in the echelon of NES games. Low G-Man, or Low Gravity Man. Perhaps the greatest game published by Taxon in my opinion, and certainly one of my favorite NES games. This game, in a word, awesome! The anti-gravity power-ups that allow you higher jumping distance, as well as the freeze gun that allows you to stun your enemies and use them as platforms, are fun elements. Speaking of enemies, I always kind of thought their design looked like the love child of RoboCop in the 1986 Transformers movie. This game has a small cult following, but like all titles mentioned before, it deserves greater attention. As always, thank you guys so much for watching. The increasing amount of support for this show is just overwhelming, and I can't thank you guys enough. So until next time, thanks for watching and take care.